How are issues of justice and human rights playing out in this crisis?
As a Palestinian woman, I think we have also done Palestinian women a huge disservice by ignoring the actual and very documented cases of sexual violence that are happening right now in Israeli prisons. Each and every woman who has emerged from these prisons, whether they came out as a result of the exchange during the ceasefire or otherwise, has been very open in describing the sexual violence that they have been subjected to. And so there's been a lot of attention that has been placed on one side of the equation and not on the other side. I say this because these allegations of sexual violence and systematic rape are in part what has fueled soldiers and prison guards to do the same, to do, sexual violence, the things that they've been reading about, to Palestinian women.
The issue is Israel's contention that on October 7th, there was mass, organized, systematic sexual violence against Israeli women perpetrated by the militant organizations that launched their offensive into southern Israel as a premeditated weapon of war. And for that, the evidence thus far, and I presume will remain, precisely zero, because there was no mass, systematic, organized campaign of sexual violence by these organizations. And just as an aside, I'll be interviewing Arun Gupta this coming Tuesday for my podcast Connections. He wrote a major article on this issue for Yes Magazine, in which he, for example, interviewed the authors of the Physicians for Human Rights in Israel report and others, and has really done stellar work on this issue. But what I'd like to say is that this serves two purposes, this whole story, or rather hoax, as I think it can be legitimately called. The first is that, as my co-panelists have pointed out, it serves the dehumanization of the enemy and the mobilization against the enemy. And, in our society, what could be more craven than these types of sexual atrocities that have been concocted? But secondly, it also serves to delegitimize any critic of Israel's genocidal campaign. Oh, so you're defending rapists. And it kind of seeks to turn the table. Don't accuse me of committing genocide, because I'm accusing you of standing shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of systematic rapists. And I think that's an angle that we shouldn't lose sight of. But once again, the real story here is mass organized systematic rape as a weapon of war. And for that, there is zero evidence.
Voices from the Holy Land film series seeks to offer a different perspective.